pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Mom.
Trustee Strong.
Here.
Trustee Dorigo.
Here.
Trustee Palmer. Here. Trustee Demo. Here. Mayor Garrett.
Here. First part, public hearing in regards to sign regulations for the Village of Alexandria Bay. We have Andy Nevin from the County Planning, part of the committee, Lee Schimmel, the zoning, Russ Froth, and Larry Cullen, that was part of the committee with the village board.
So, my name is Andy Nevin from Jefferson County Planning. We were asked to help the village with a comprehensive plan a few years ago, and we did that with a committee. Then we were gonna start working on zoning, an update to the zoning law. Then kind of COVID hit, so that set us back a year. Then we started the zoning update process with the committee. Then some things happened with signs in the village, so the village decided signs were more important to update first. So we spent the past 9 months working on that process. And hopefully you've all seen the draft of that. It's been on the village website, and there's copies here. And so what I'm here to do is sort of set that up with a little bit of an intro, and then the committee chair, Russ, will talk about the actual law, the regulations itself. There's a summary in PowerPoint. And so, you know, and then I'm not sure about questions or not, but so again, I'm with the County Planning Department. We provide technical assistance to many of our communities in the county. And so we help the communities with whatever issues they need to look at, typically with land use laws or zoning issues. So I'll go ahead. And I mean, we can have a dialogue about this. What I tried to do was take pictures around the village that showed the various types of signs. I didn't get pictures of all of them, but these two images are from the comprehensive plan, you know, when that was done. And we do have a vision statement in the plan. I have the whole plan here. Russ will go over the vision statement if we're so inclined. But whenever I work with a community, I try to learn as much as I can before we do that. So part of it was going around the village and taking pictures. I realize it's not a sunny day. I wasn't trying to influence it either way. But with our budgets the way they are, I'm not really allowed to go when I want to, when there's a meeting. So, but you know, there's a lot of different types of signs in the village, as you all know. But that's part of the learning process for me is to realize. So you know, I don't really have these in any particular order, but obviously there are signs of all types. You know, that's a freestanding sign. This is an off-premise sign. And I'm just going to go quickly. But if there's some point in time when we want to go back and well, what does it really look like? This is what helped me a lot during the process. So here's a number of signs, projecting signs, wall signs, and I'll just keep going through. But it really helped to look at what the reality is out there, and that helped us inform the process throughout. And some of these are duplicating, but so there's flags, there's all kinds of signs everywhere, so I think what we were doing with a process was to look at as many types of signs as we could that pertain to commercial signage. I'm sure you're familiar, or you own these businesses in some cases. But, you know, we have off-premise signs on walls. We have them freestanding. We even have sandwich board off-premise, so there's a lot of different facets to this process. Here we have billboards that are quite large at the top, which is the hospital, River Hospital billboard. Then there's some smaller ones, and there's a freestanding and a wall sign, even a rooftop sign. So there's many different types, as you well know. What I found exciting about this was to try to figure out, you know, where things make sense, what is reasonable. So that was something that we tried to do as a group. You can sort of make out some of the sandwich board signs. Obviously, that's a topic with the regulations. At this point, it wasn't expensive enough to work on the TV, so. But you know, you've got some original signs that are historic. You've got new signs, all different types. So that kind of made the regulation process more difficult. And you know, here again, we've got a couple of different sandwich board signs there, and projecting signs. So, but if I may, the current village zoning law has a few sentences throughout it that deal with signage, and it doesn't really make a complete set of regulations. There's 3 definitions, and then there's, as I said, there's a handful of sentences, and it's very difficult to find them, and it refers to the previous zone and that previous. So this is not that. You know, we tried to be as thorough as we could with more definitions and so on. Let's see. Does anyone find this worthwhile? Okay. So a lot of the signs are in good shape. They're legible. You know, they meet the proposed regulations. So I was very encouraged by seeing all these signs that exist today. They really do, I think, do a good job of identifying your businesses, and most of them are very legible and so on. That's a sandwich board there for the boat tours. Hello. There's some handouts here if you're interested.
Okay, thank you.
I think there's just a few more. So there again, you've got awning signs there, another type of sign. These are some what used to be on-premise signs and an off-premise across the street. These are a couple of off-premise signs. I'm not picking on any of these really. And as I said, I didn't get all the signs that I really wanted to. And these are as I was leaving a meeting, so they're kind of rushed. I think there's just a couple more. Oh, also, you got signs that displaying toward the water, so we tried to address those as well as the street and pedestrian-oriented signs. You know, this one is an off-premise sign, but it's really for pedestrians almost. This is from the water, so you've got, you know, you're addressing boaters here as well, from both sides. I didn't get in my boat for this, but I probably should have. I grew up in Watertown, and my family had a cottage in Morristown for 52 years. So I'm a boater, I'm a customer, I'm a tourist, I'm a parent, I have 3 kids. So I'm in this world as everyone else here is too. I think you get the idea. And some of these are dated, but yeah, this was winter or maybe fall, or I forget when it was, but it obviously wasn't open at that time. Right, so here's some sandwich board signs, which is a topic. There's another one. And here's an example of one that's not near the building, but you can't really put it on the building and address your audience, which are the pedestrians on the sidewalk. So again, we tried to deal with various situations. And here's an example with two doing the same thing. Maybe you can tell us why you have two there, but that's okay. Question. Yeah. It's not always two, so I don't know. One of these has an off-premise sandwich board sign and an on-premise, which is, so that was interesting too. I may have gone by it. Yeah. So again, I didn't get them all, but maybe you can appreciate the effort that I was trying to put forth. That, you know, you can't just look at a sign law with blinders on. You got to look at the real world and the village that you're operating in. So that's what we try to do, especially the committee members who are very familiar with the village. So I don't know if this is a transition, but this was the vision we wrote and adopted as part of the comprehensive plan. And I know that's not the topic for today, but this vision, I don't know if you can read it, but it's a thought out statement about where the village, you know, where it's been, where hopefully it's going. I think the village wants to be, you know, wants to build on its unique natural beauty, all the events, hospitality, the tours. I mean, it's really building upon the success that you've had for 200 years, and enhancing people's lives with either quality of life for residents, for tourists, for visitors, building upon the success that you've had and you've made. I mean, these are people we're talking about, and trying to expand the seasonal use from the summer into the shoulder season. I have a hard time saying that. And then year-round experiences. During that planning process, there was a survey done, and people expressed interest in year-round things to do in the village. And I know that takes staff and so on and so forth, but so there are issues in the plan that were identified, and the signage was one of them. And so we're working towards something, and this vision is one of those things. But in the plan, there's 10 goals related to this vision, and then there's quite a few strategies, and several of them deal with signs and pedestrian safety and traffic and congestion, all related to signage. So I think I'm done with my part. Go ahead. I can just click it when you want, or here.
I can't walk and chew gum at the same time, so you can play.
Okay. Very good.
Folks, thanks for coming out tonight. Let me give you a little background on what's going on here. First of all, the comprehensive plan that they're talking about is basically, it's a roadmap. It has three things. It says where the village has been in the past, where we are now, and where we hope to go in the future. It's a fairly sizable document. It took us several years to go through, but it's, again, it's a roadmap. It's a document that states kind of where we would like to head. The village board currently has the task of approving signage. They have formed this committee for several reasons. One, the current signage law is about 2 pages. Now, with all the signs that are out there, 2 pages is pretty vague. It doesn't cover very much, and it's very difficult to make fair determinations about what's allowed and what's not off of a 2-page document. So the village board put our committee together for 2 reasons. One, to make some guidelines that are thorough and fair and clear, so that moving forward, we can make determinations on signage that's coming our way. The second thing is they want to give the ability to approve or disapprove to the planning board. Right now, the village board has that task. And I think part of the problem is they don't want to politicize it. The planning board is appointed. So every couple of years, we don't have to rerun for election and make nice with everybody. Not that we don't make nice, but it's not a political position. So I think the planning board's a little more impartial and a little more objective when it comes to these items. Okay? So let's get started. What's our outline? As you can see, we've got about 19 pages here. We started with some definitions, which we'll get to. Statement of findings and purpose and intent. That's the big thing. Why did we do this? And what was our goal on doing this? We'll get to that. There's different signs that require planning board review, some that do not. We did construction and design standards. We would like these signs to be durable, not refrigerator boxes with spray paint on them. Something that's a little more durable and safe is a big thing. We did the permit process, use and review schedule, and requirements by zoning district. Okay, so this is the map. This is the zoning map of how the village is currently divided into the various zones. This hasn't changed in I don't know how long, but what the comprehensive plan did was we tried to make a better definition of the different zones. So, for example, the yellow and the teal, those are residential zones, as is the purple, the dark purple. The light purple is the marine district, which is a mix of businesses and residences. And then, of course, the red is the business zone. And then you got the lucky folks over in the green on the islands there. This was a little schedule that we came up with. It says, it gives you the 6 different categories that we came up with. And then, of course, you've got the 6 zoning districts. And as you can see, in some of the zoning districts, certain things are not permitted, especially in the residential zone. We tried to restrict some things in residential zones to try to maintain a residential character of the residential zones. Other things, special use permit, certain things, a site plan is review. Other things are just permitted with a simple review. Okay, Andy. This was the big thing, statement of findings. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Public safety. Signs are distracting. They can distract motorists, boaters, and pedestrians. They can affect quality of life and business. For example, anybody ever been to Las Vegas? Flashing lights all over the place. That's not really the kind of environment that I think that folks want. Number 2 is the purpose of these regulations is to regulate size, elimination, movement, materials, and conditions. I want to make clear, as Judy had said, she's heard some rumblings, we are not taking your signs away. We are not asking you to change signs. What these guidelines are going to do is, from here forward, they're going to dictate what is allowed for new signage. If your signs are there now and they're not conforming, we're not going to tell you to take them down. This is going to be from here forward for new signs or a change of use on a building. Then these kick in. The zoning law allows adequate communication through signage while encouraging aesthetic quality in design, location, and purpose. Okay, so that's basically we're trying to keep a certain character in the village and maintain the quaintness of what we have here, the treasure that we've got here. Okay, Andy? Intent, these regulations are intended to promote compatibility with landscape and architecture, not distracting to motorists, boaters, and pedestrians. Number 2, they don't regulate every form, but we tried to cover everything. Number 3, they don't eliminate all potential harms, but again, we try to reasonably put some guidelines in. Permitted signs should be legible, compatible with surroundings. Again, kind of staying in the character of what the village has right now. Okay, Andy? Definitions, again, this is in the handout if you need a little more detail. Some of these are old billboards, directional signs, things like that. Some of it's new. Some of this new technology here, like these mobile electronic billboards, we kind of address those because this is new technology that has kind of sprung on the scene, and we felt that there needed to be some guidelines on that. And then, of course, you can see the rest. There's quite a few definitions. There's a lot of different signs out there, as Andy showed in the slides. This isn't really a one-size-fits-all. There's a lot of different elements out there to be considered. Okay, go ahead, Andy. We had some signs that don't require a planning board review. There are certain ones that, for example, real estate signs, for rent signs, contractor signs that want to hang their sign out while the work is going on. We're not going to regulate, we're not going to micromanage this thing. We just don't have the time or the ability, or quite frankly the desire, to regulate every aspect of this. So there is going to be some freedom there on certain things that you put out and you do your thing. Again, as you can see, there's certain requirements that we're going to have by sign type. There are signs that are going to require review. They're going to be the more obvious ones, the business signs, pretty much home occupation signs, daycare signs. They're going to have a review process before they're approved. Okay, go ahead, Andy. This was a little sketch that was made just to kind of give an idea of what we were trying to accomplish as far as sign types and heights, and as you can see on the left there's some projecting signs, there's some wall signs, there's some window signs. On the right, it gave some specifications that we put together for some flags, second-story tenants, and projecting signs over a sidewalk. Okay. The permit process, we're still working on the permit process. We're trying to figure out how to do a very simple process that's going to take the necessary information. It's going to require a site plan or a drawing as to what you plan to do. Illuminated signs are going to require a statement from the manufacturer that what the light spread is going to be on that, so we don't get too much light pollution. Okay?
That's it.
That's it, okay. Let's get into some specifics here. The biggest concern I know for a lot of folks is these sandwich board signs. They have been a real issue, and let me also say that we spent many months working on this, but we weren't just here in the confines of this building working on it. We went out walked the streets on numerous occasions with tape measures, cameras, trying to see what was there now and make some guidelines that would work within the village with what we've got now. The sandwich boards, we are proposing that there's a certain size, a 6 square foot size on sandwich boards. They need to be against the building, and there has to be a 6 foot open space between the sandwich board and whatever's out at the curb, be it the curb itself or the parking meter poles. And we made 6 feet because 2 wheelchairs or families with strollers on a crowded day trying to pass, if you're trying to get through a narrow opening, we just felt that was a real public safety issue. What else did we talk about, Andy?
Well, I mean, we tried to look at the Americans with Disabilities Act specifications for that, but that was complicated. So we felt like a certain amount of space would be easier to administer than something like that. And so also with, there's some, like you said, there's the poles, the meters, there's some benches, there's some trash receptacles. Obviously, we're not addressing those right now, but certainly circulation for pedestrians is an issue. And, you know, the village has looked at it with the sidewalk conditions and trying to get grants to improve the,
And different sidewalk sizes.
Right,
Right.
yep. And that's why the committee went out a couple of times, on that. But with sandwich boards, obviously there's a need for them, and there's a market that you're going for, so that we did not want to ban them at all. That was not something we really, wanted to do. I mean, there's one thing with safety, but there's obviously business, health, and marketing, so that's where there's a balancing act somewhere.
Anybody who had the chance to look at the draft that was, we had copies here, it was also online. I hope you got a chance to look at that, because I would be standing up here for hours if I went through every detail, and I don't want to do that to you. But in a nutshell, that's what we've been working on. And Stephen, I'll let you take over now. If you want to do the public hearing?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Gary. So now we'll open it to the public for your comment. Any comments from the public? Roger?
I have a comment. First of all, thank you guys all for doing all this. What a pain in the butt. You know, it was a long and arduous process, I'm sure. I very much appreciate the issue as related to neighborhoods, you know, the residential side. I'm not quite so keen on some of the issues as related to the business district, but from the neighborhood perspective, absolutely, you know, go at it. The one thing that interested me, because you just said something about Las Vegas and the signs and all that too, and it shows up in here, and it says, signs can obstruct views, distract motorists, boaters, and pedestrians. From a business standpoint, I'd like to change that and say signs can attract motorists, boaters, and pedestrians. Because you can't forget that that's really the goal of the sign. We can't take this view that this sign is in some way a negative. It's truly positive, right? So we've got to be careful not to try to look at what we're trying to do here differently. That sign is there to assist our business. You also said you weren't going to micromanage, but you really are micromanaging, right down to the square inch or the percentage on some of these things. One of them, for example, is the, I'm not saying no, I'm just saying that there is some discrepancy here. One thing is the percentage of how much of a sign can be on a window. I think there's an issue on that, like what percentage of the glass can have signage. Yet you can have a window that's a huge plate glass window that is full of T-shirts that say all sorts of things. You don't even need a sign. So what is the difference between a window with a sign in it or a window that has 40 signs 6 inches behind it on a rack? So I think you have to be careful on some of these things. And again, I don't have a better idea. I thank you for what you're doing, but let's try not to be too restrictive on this, because I think any business owner tries to do the best for their business. They don't intentionally make something look bad. I think they do. Maybe in what is that, punk rock punk? I don't know if you would, but I think that there is I think there's a need, especially in the neighborhoods. I think there's a need for office to control additional off-site signage. Could need ADA accessible walkways and stuff, but I don't know how finite we should get on some of these things that may be there to attract the people that come into the village. I mean, that's why people come to the village. They don't come into the village to sit on the bench. They come into the village to enjoy all the things that these businesses have to offer, and hopefully we can make them successful by letting them be visible.
Roger, if I may address you on that.
Yeah.
We spoke about this too. A vast majority of the business owners are very reasonable. They understand that they try to be do things in moderation. What's driven this, and I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but in any scenario, any environment, there's always that few that push the envelope. So to address your point, yes, we even realize that most of the businesses downtown are taking a reasonable view of this. It's unfortunate that the ones that push the boundary have really sort of initiated this whole process that we're doing.
Which is why I'm not against it, I understand the issue.
Thanks.
I mean, now I commented about the signs, but can we talk about something else?
We're talking about the signs.
What's that?
The signs.
Yeah, no.
Hi, my name's Cheryl Navarro, and I'm one of the owners of Knapp's Popcorn, and I have a question for the committee. And our business has been in town for 7 years and been very successful, and we're excited to be a part of Alexandria Bay. Has there ever been a conversation about a village map that would assist tourists in seeing what is to be offered? And before you answer that, we've been given permission to put our sandwich board at the Four Corners, and part of why we do that is to have those who are enjoying James Street know that if you take a few steps up the hill, there's some delicious popcorn. Many towns, and I've done this for years, that have tourist towns that have those maps, I take a picture with my phone, and I've always wanted to come and say, have we considered doing that so that I wouldn't need to put a sandwich board out if the people that came into town knew where things were located?
The sign committee did not address that. I don't know if the village board has ever spoken about that. My wife over there, she even suggested it as a possibility, so, but no, the sign committee didn't. The sign committee was more concerned of
Regulation.
Of guidelines for signs actually on buildings, not so much as trying to set up an overall map and posting it in certain places, but.
There is a group of volunteers, the Alexandria Bay Improvement Committee, that has talked about the little maps to place around the village of, you are here, this is where this business is, this is where that business is, and they're working on that right now for next year. The group formed, and they're in the process of trying to come up with something like that, yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. The chamber also used to have a map years ago. Maybe we could talk to them about doing it again. And in something we're going to talk about later on, Downtown Revitalization Initiative, which is part of Governor's new funding stream, that would be included in that process or package. Great, thank you.
If I could just follow up on what Cheryl was saying here. I was at one of your workshops, and I mentioned, and I haven't read back through this, but I mentioned that we had talked at one time to the people, I think it's Wicks, that on the corner, the purple building on the corner of Market, and whatever the Dancing Dog Road is right there. We had talked to them about making a portable sign, which I think it might fall under this, correct me if I'm wrong, that would have something on the top that would be like Church Street Market, and then each of us would have a band, like a sign underneath it, Knapp's Popcorn, Dancing Dog, Joe's Pizza. And that would be not a sandwich board sign, but it was a temporary sign and with a frame that we could all hang. Do you recall that? I mean, is that it? I thought we said that we could do something like that as a portable sign.
I know we talked about that. It would be more of like let's go back to MASH with the sign of,
yeah, and it would
here's
be in their lawn,
Tokyo, here's whatever,
yeah.
and putting up a sign like that, yes.
All right.
That's kind of in the same sense as
Right.
what Cheryl was talking about, a sign saying you're here, this is where
Right.
your place, their place, everything.
We did put in multi-tenant off-premise sign as a thing.
Okay, I thought we talked, okay.
Yeah.
Based on your input.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that hit freestanding signs and, yeah, the multi-tenant.
Multi-tenant, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Anybody else?
I got a question.
Mr. Williams?
Is there any noted injuries that anybody's had in 45 years here, 50 years? Because they say it's for personal, so people don't get hurt, anybody ever get hurt? That we know
We do have lawsuits that we can't discuss.
of, over a sign?
You can't discuss that.
And then as far as the light, that TV wasn't bright enough to read what you guys want to put on there.
Yeah.
So I even like Roger, I want you to see my sign, not see it. I don't have a business downtown, but I want to tell you, when we put something in front of Skiff's, said this is on sale or that's on sale, people came in. I wouldn't want to be a business if they were holding guns to my head, telling me I can't have a sign. I wouldn't even come here, I wouldn't think of it.
But we're not saying you can't have a sign.
Well, you're gonna regulate it, and I don't think anybody says anything bad down there. They put it out because it works for them. It pays their taxes.
Well, I think the Americans with Disabilities Act has been brought more to our attention, and we don't really care about, because like we talked, Russ and I, we don't want to take anything away, but if you have the sandwich board sign, a wheelchair has to be able to get around it safely, or a person with a guide dog. That's the big thing. You know, whether or not they break their neck on a sign or have in the past, it's something you have to deal with going forward.
6 foot,
Well-
anywhere you go, when you put a sign out and have 6 foot, it isn't gonna fit anywhere downtown.
And some of the sidewalks are only 3 feet.
Right.
We took that into consideration. It just, there has to be a way to be able to get around them.
I got a postcard here from the 1920s by Skiff's. There's Model A's in it and sandwich boards. And I don't ever know that we've had a lawsuit since.
Gary, if I can address what you're saying, we went down with a tape measure, we measured the sidewalks in front of just about every building, and they're wider than you think they are. There's only a few places that are gonna have an issue with being narrow.
And we're not gonna punish them because their sidewalk's not 6 feet wide, right, Russ?
Well,
Everything's gonna have to be looked at. I mean, we're not gonna be the sandwich board police, just, not at all. Nobody has the time or the desire, as Andy said earlier.
right.
Just, we have to just tune in to what's happening around us and the way the world is changing and becoming more accessible for everybody.
And more litigious.
I wanted to add though, we talked about apps, you know, and Google Maps, and so some of these things are related to this, but not everyone is on that. So we try to address it in a way that makes sense for all users, not just the ones that are savvy with their phone. So that's why you still have the ability to have many signs, because some people are like, well, why do we need signs if we have the apps and everything's on your phone? Well, we're not all there yet, and that's me included. I'm not all there yet either. So.
And then I got another question. How about enforcement? So we have rules about having long grass. We have lots of rules around this village. We don't enforce those. How are we gonna enforce this? Who are you gonna give a ticket? Who's gonna be the guy giving tickets? There's just, I think, I remember when I was on the village board and we tried to do it, there was a lot of business people there, Jim Donigan, Don Cole, they were all hollering about it. And they were all good people.
About
And-
grass?
Excuse me?
Hollering about grass?
About having a sign ordinance and how it was gonna hurt your business, and now we're back at it again.
Well, other bigger, better places than us have sign ordinances and doesn't seem to have hurt them. We're not trying to take anything away. We're trying to make it safe and better. And going to your grass thing, you know, I think we all go around town and look at grass and then leave a list for Lee and say, you know, check this out, which he does. But I sit here and look and say, why does the village board have to tell anybody to cut their grass? Why is that even a thing?
Well,
I
go
mean-
up and look at the town barn. If that needs grass cut, if anything in this whole town needs grass cut, it's
Well,
our own.
I'm not.
Or the village barn, not the
The
town.
village barn, up here? Well, we'll take care of
There's
it.
trees growing right out the side of it.
You know, I go around and
But-
I get it, but it's not, it shouldn't have to be our responsibility to remind everybody to cut their grass. I mean, come on, we're all adults, aren't we?
Back to science.
Back to science, I'm sorry.
Anybody else for comment on the signs?
So I'll make another comment.
No,
So, why not? It's a whole different, so Garlock's put a new sign to get down in the Bonnie Castle. Some people think it's too light, I don't think it's light enough. It's all what the person likes, you know what I mean? It's like, come on now. That's what they have to do to get people to go down to their place, let them do it. They got big taxes.
Well, they were approved.
No, but I hear that you're gonna regulate the light, how much light could be, it was part of the introduction here. Well, who's gonna decide if it's too much or not?
You get a photometric plan that's developed by the engineers, and it'll show foot candles around the building or the sign, if it requires that, and you determine that accordingly. There's a meter, I believe, Greg, you can probably help me out, that can do that foot candle that's required.
I think even Bill does that when he puts up signs in the village.
And Gary, this is no different than when the planning board does site plans. One of the considerations of site plans is the exterior lighting, be it parking lot lighting or lighting on the building, as it affects other properties. So this is really just a continuation of that.
Okay, that's what you guys think. I think you're gonna deter people to do things. Next thing you'll tell them what color to paint their house.
that's next.
That's probably.
Anybody else? One more time, anybody else?
I have something. I had suggested, doing away with the boards altogether and maybe having the board purchase chalkboards for every business that they can actually put on their business someplace or in the window so that they all match. They would be off the sidewalk, and the business could every week or whatever they were sponsoring, or whether it be what they were having for lunch that day, or maybe they were having a T-shirt sale. They could put it on that, whatever the size is, and it would be on the building. And then once, excuse me, once visitors realize, you know, that you could have it on the map, check out every business, because I know that they do that a lot in the outlet malls. You pick up a map, and then every business will have a sign in their window, and it'll say whatever their special is, either of the day or the week. And they would all be conformed at the same size, and it would do away with the sandwich boards altogether. And it would look nice as you're walking up or down the sidewalks. And
What's your name, please?
what is my name?
Yes, ma'am.
Lorraine Schrock.
Sorry, I'm having brain cramp today,
That's
thank you very much.
okay.
Anybody else? Anybody? Take a motion to close the public hearing.
I'm not sure.
Pardon me?
No, the village clerk was asking me what the next step was, whether you're gonna close the public hearing or whether you're gonna keep it open, and I don't know what the pleasure of the board is.
What do you think?
I think with the time that we've put into it already, and I don't know that we need to make any major changes to this, so I
Make a motion to
make a
close?
motion to close the public hearing. I'll second it.
Motion by trustee Fulmer, second by trustee Demo, to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, we're gonna move on to the regular meeting. So we'll go into public concerns. General public concerns. Yes.
Hi, I'm Harriet Madden, and I was here in December, for the December meeting. And I'm might as well say I'm a lifetime resident here, but I'm not really a resident. But I mean, I was born and raised here. But the main thing was the pavilion, the restroom, the ladies' restroom especially. So I brought that up in December, and just a comment on what people were saying about it, you know, tourists. and how I felt about it, you know, and I just felt it needed improvement, and I just came tonight to thank you for improving the ladies' restroom. Now, the rest of you may think it's not improved, but it's improved. And, love the new sidewalk, I mean, I can go on and on, but Braden, that you hired, attendant guy, and I like the bright orange or green, I forget the color. Even tourists are going up to Braden and asking him a question. I think that was a good idea, that they all wore these bright attendant things, and he works hard there, and I've gone up to him several times, I'm always there swimming, I'm a swimmer. And I just love going there, and, it's my favorite place up at the pavilion, at the park. And, he's just working all the time. I mean, he's mowing grass when there is no grass to mow. But anyways, he's doing really good, and the weeds are really limited this year. Hallelujah. But anyways, I just want to make a comment on the good work and good improvement. Of course, that brand new sidewalk is a plus. And I just appreciate going down there better now, and, you know, it's just great, thanks. Whoever came up with the improvement of it, and of course, it could probably be improved more, you know, just like anything else, but it's a big improvement, and, I'm glad you did it, and thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Are you related to Braden?
Pardon?
Are you related to Braden?
No, but I am related to the lifeguard. No, but Braden's good.
Thank you.
Anybody else from public concern? Roger.
Roger, Rogers Center. First of all, I want to say that anything I say here is just my own personal view, not the view of all the other people on Church Street who may or may not agree or in the community. So, because I want to talk a little bit about parking, hospital, EMTs, and I know it's a touchy situation. Everybody has their own views. I would like to start by saying that we're, of course, a supporter of the hospital. My wife and I donate to the hospital, and I'm wholeheartedly behind the process, okay? But that doesn't mean that there aren't issues that need to be perhaps looked at and as related to the hospital and its expansion, because it's continuing to expand, as well as the River Health Center. I've watched over the years, I've been around for a long time, I've watched over the years the Samaritan Medical in Watertown has been expanded throughout the years, and it's a struggle. And the primary struggles aren't building a hospital and, you know, getting patients. It's all the things around it, and primarily parking is one of those things. Parking and traffic flow, and I know that Samaritan just bought a couple more buildings just a couple days ago. So I bring this up not because I don't like what's going on. I just bring it up so that people realize that the growth of any business, and in this case a hospital, it has some growing pains, and I think we as a community and as board members, I think we have to respect that and look at what's next. Where are we now? What's coming next? And I don't know if there is an urban planning concept of how that development is going to affect our village, either positively or negatively going forward. But I do want you to know, I do want to know that I'm very pro-hospital. I don't into it. I hurt myself in some regards. But I did want to talk for one moment about a conversation that Bubba and I had the other day when we were at a previous meeting about parking on Church Street. And Bubba had made the comment that he didn't think that taking away any parking on Church would affect our business at all, and of course I jumped on him, and I apologize for that. But I wanted to put it in a little bit of perspective, that like Church Street or any of the business, there's 41 business fronts in the village, and only a couple of them have parking. Captain Thompson's and, well, let's say the boat line, Uncle Sam and Riley's have parking. Cavalierio's has parking. But that's about it, 41 businesses. So we all rely on public parking. We might not necessarily have someone parks in front of our business. That's not the issue. It's the number of parking spaces available for all of us. If you were going to go grocery shopping or to the mall, you know, you pull into the mall and you say, oh crap, I want to go in that store, but there's no parking right there. But you know there's going to be parking over in another place because you may have gone by some empty spaces, or you see and it's like, oh crap, I've got to walk that far. But at least you do it. You go to get your groceries. You go to wherever the heck you're going because you know that there's parking available. We don't have that luxury in the Bay. If somebody, only about 30% of the people that come into town, we estimate, go on a boat ride. 70% of the people come into the town, somewhere around that number, are coming in to experience some other thing. If you drive through the town and you see a business that you want to stop at, because God forbid we have a sign, that you may not find a parking space there, and you may cruise if you know the street, and if you don't find a place, you're not gonna come to our business, because there is no other place. I remember talking to Ron, I don't mean to speak for him on this, but years ago we were talking about, as his parking lots get full, and he has to send people out of town to the remote parking lot, where even people know there's parking, and they're gonna get a bus ride into town. I think that Ron told me they lose a percentage, 40% or something. Those people don't even, because they don't even come back into town. There's some weird thing. If you can't park somewhere near where you know your car is and where the business is, you're gonna lose that customer. So I just wanna say that I do believe it will harm, not just us, but every business in this town if we continue to allow our parking to deteriorate. So that's truly my goal. Not that it's necessarily in front of my business. I don't care about that. I care about that we all have spaces. So, with that said, the problem at hand is the EMT response down Church Street, which is allegedly maybe be alleviated to some degree if we got rid of some parking. That may very well be, but I've watched this system lately. The real problem with the ambulances coming down Church Street is what happens at the corner, not what's happening 2 blocks up, right? I mean, occasionally it may get backed up because some car swerves out into another lane and it slows it down a little bit. But really the problem here is that down at the corner of Church, you have cars Church has to stop. They have to stop. James has the right of way to turn in front of them and come up Church, which I understand is to unload the village, which I agree with. But what's happening is, as more and more cars are going up the hill, because they're going to the healthcare center, to the hospital, there's probably more of a block now there now than there was 2 years ago, because more cars are going straight. A larger percentage of the cars going into the village are going straight. So yes, it is an issue. But that's not the only issue. The issue is it's a blind corner. If there's an ambulance coming down the hill and everything's locked up there, they can't even see, because you've got the corner pizzas there, you've got Josie's, that nothing's coming from the left. So it's like you're in a blind tunnel. So this is my suggestion. I did some time trials, and I did 6. I went at the corner of the Dancing Dog. I drove from there at a reasonable speed, down the hill, up, is it Church that goes up the hill? I don't know.
Church.
Okay, up the hill. And then I took the left and then went into the ambulance entrance.
Yep.
Roughly 59 to 62 seconds, okay? I then did the identical test, starting at the Dancing Dog. I turned at the Dancing Dog, went down Market, went up by Drex, went around the loop of the Monticello, and right there is the parking lot to the hospital. I don't know if you know that, but it's a curve. So it's really kind of a sweet curve right into the ambulance bay. Plus or minus 2 seconds every time, okay? And the other thing is, if you do it that way, when you're down at the corner, let's say an ambulance has a bit of a bottleneck down at the corner. First of all, they're going to be less of a bottleneck because they're not confronting the cars that are being stopped on Church because they're going up to the health center or the pavilion or the hospital. Because that doesn't happen. That's one street over now on the left. What will happen is you have much more visibility regardless. If you're an ambulance, I'm just throwing this out there, you've got 1864/the Admirals on the right. You can see down through there. You can really see on the left down through Skiss. To me, it seems like a better route. So what I am suggesting is that maybe the village can consider this as an urban planning issue with the dilemma that we now have of increased traffic up the hill, that you start looking at alternative routes. For example, and I mentioned to the mayor, maybe we could address having the road by Drex be one way, all the way up the loop. Maybe it doesn't need to be one way all the way up and around the loop. Maybe what we need to do is have the road that is at goes by the Monticello, having no entry sign at the top of Church. So nobody goes that way, and it effectively becomes the hospital's one-way route to themselves. So I'm throwing that out there to the village and to the, you know, the fire department and whoever, that, I think it's important. I think we need to work together on this. And, because as a business owner, I can't even plan an expansion on my business if I know that next month or next vote, you know, we're gonna lose our parking. We're gonna lose 20% of our business, 15% of our, we can't operate that way. So let's try to work towards a solution that is long-term and that, is realistic and works. So, that's my comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Public pleasure, Rod.
I'd just like to piggyback on what Roger just said. I have a lot of parking, obviously, and I still don't have enough. That's why I have the parking lot by the golf course. And 2 buses to bring people back and forth. And as Roger says, people don't want to park a certain distance away. So when I go up there, all the parking in front of the cemetery, in front of the Walton Street Market, and then on the side streets and everything else are for people that park and then they walk in, which is fine. At least we give them an opportunity to stay. But losing parking spaces it can't be overstressed. It is critical. And I got a picture from a gentleman sent me a picture the other day. And first of all, kudos to the DPW for getting those boxes, because that came from the discussion as a compromise, because people parking into the street on both sides create more of a problem on Lower Church Street. And it wasn't long at all, and there were boxes there. And now I go other places, and I realize these boxes are all over the place, just never paid attention to them before. But they blacked out where the line stuck out too far, made the boxes. And the picture he had was about in front of Kathy's store, going down in. And every single car was inside the box, except for one dual wheel, they call them dualies, I guess, pickup truck. And both of the tires were outside the box. It wasn't just part of one tire, both of them. So you've got, and I know this was an issue where you need to have a public hearing, and it'll probably be like March or April of next year before you can actually fine someone for doing that. But the vast majority of the people were conforming, and it makes a big difference going down through there. And that's kind of a really positive compromise. But as Butch said, and I told him a couple of days ago I was going to take his little route there. I did just before I came to the meeting. And I drove down, I took a right at the Dancing Dog, left on Market, went up around Drex, around Monticello, and you immediately pull into the driveway there. And it actually puts you right into the ambulance bay, as opposed to coming up Church and having to take a little bit of a left and then a right, or a little bit of a right and then a left to get in there. And if it only adds like 2 seconds, that's a great win. But going forward, if there's ever any talk about getting rid of parking spaces, because you guys have got enough on your plate, and getting rid of the sign, dealing with that is a good positive step. If you could have some committees set up between the affected parties. Nobody wants one of their family members to be delayed getting to the hospital. And if you could put the business owners and the ambulance people in the same room and just have a brainstorming session, and just like what Roger came up with, that's all positive stuff. But just to reiterate what he said, the number of parking spaces downtown is critical. For all the, I never counted the storefronts, but he said there's 41. And in the business district, part of our zoning, you're not required to have any parking. And if we did, we'd have to tear down half the buildings. But anyway, I won't go any further. But again, thank you to DPW for getting those boxes in as quick as they did.
Next is getting New York State to put the center of the road in the center of the road.
Yeah.
I just want to make a comment here, and like you say, the last meeting got hot and heavy, and I'm not trying to put anybody out of business here. And the thing is, and Walt's here, and they can attest to it, is minutes count when you have a critical patient getting to the hospital. And the route you guys talked about, when you're working on somebody with doing press concessions with, and trying to keep a guy alive, you're not gonna be going around corners. We had an incident last night at that accident, and they rushed him in here. But the thing is, and I will sit on the committee, we'll get some business people, we'll get the fire department together and see if we can solve this problem. I'm not trying to ruin anybody's business down there, because it's such a short season. I'm just trying to eliminate an accident when they're coming down the street and they don't have enough room to get through because they're bottled up there. That's all I'm trying to do here. I'm not trying to ruin anybody's business here.
No, I just think my recollection of the last meeting is just that the importance of the parking was kind of minimized. And I agree with everything you said, we want people to get there as fast as they can.
And the thing is,
all I'm saying is that the parking is not something to be minimized, but saving a life is the top of the list.
yeah.
That's all.
And that's the thing, I know, like I say, we can discuss it another time, we'll get a crew together, and the fire department, some business people, and we can discuss this and come up with a plan, and we'll go from there. That's all, that's fine.
If I just add one thing, Bubba, I appreciate Honor for that, you have no ill will towards our businesses, I didn't mean to say that.
I'm not.
But it could happen, given if the wrong decisions are made, it will affect our business, make no mistake. I know that it's not your intent, so please don't misunderstand.
No, I'm not trying to put any.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is, we're gonna move forward with, trustee DeRigo, the fire department, a group of business people, so that we can get something.
Meeting between the business owners and the fire department. I'm assistant chief of the Alexandria Bay Fire Department, I can facilitate it easy.
Right.
And I think it's a good idea. I do appreciate
Yes.
the boxes too, that's made a big difference.
I'm not for taking away parking spaces. I understand that they're critical to the businesses. I understand that we need to find a way to make the ambulances work, whether it's this way or hanging a right and a left. We, a bunch of us, probably created some traffic ourselves over the last couple of weekends since the last meeting with, okay, well, we had 3 cars. We did it over the weekend at critical times when we thought traffic was heavy downtown, when we, one car went this way, one car with the same goal, and, I get it. And I think what I've noticed I think we all have, the biggest difference is those rectangles and how the cars are staying within the rectangles. And I think, rather than right away trying to go change the law, which is not the step we're taking, but let's get all those parking spaces there made into rectangles and see what happens. I mean, we're all going up and down, and Cindy and I have noticed that when we go up and down Church and we check in that rectangle, there's a black truck that parks on the left-hand side coming down, that's never inside the rectangle, and that truck is always there, so I don't know, but the rectangles are working. So I think in the long run, we'll be able to get to a point that makes everybody happy without taking away, parking spaces are dollars. Pardon me? Parking spaces are dollars to businesses, and I get that.
So we'll set up a committee between trustee DeRigo, trustee Stroud, fire
I'd
department.
like to, I'm Kathy Garlock, I'd like to make a recommendation that somebody, one of us from Church Street, would be on that committee. I just, want to reiterate, when anybody sees an ambulance, they automatically move over or slow up.
State law.
Right, and I checked with the state police, and to the record, there's not really been any accidents with an ambulance through there, so, and I'm very much a hospital person. I do the fundraising for the foundation, watching it grow and prosper, but at the same time, it will hurt. 99% of my people are older people coming into River Living who do park because they're not going to walk. So I'm paying a village tax and taxes for what? For people not being able to even patronize coming in. It would close our doors, definitely.
Can I say one thing on the parking?
Yep.
90% of the people that are coming down James Street to go up Church Street stop right out in front of What's, Ricky's business there?
Downtown.
Downtown. Why don't you put a stop sign there?
Oh,
Everybody
yeah,
stops.
Needs to stop, everybody
It would
stops.
ask,
That's been brought up to me about if.
yeah, a four-way, it'd be a four-way stop.
Do we have to go through the state to do that, or can we do it ourselves?
It's a state highway.
It's a state and DOT. because
So we gotta go through the state to get that. Okay, and we'll work on that.
James Street is not a state.
I think it's because they're turning on.
James Street in between,
In front of Skips,
yep.
definitely a state highway.
You go down Church Street, you hit James Street, you take a right
correct.
at the corner, and then you loop left onto Market Street, and you loop around the new McSherry building, the Monticello, and just as you're going around, that's where the state highway ends.
Okay.
You can look at the road where the pavement's changed.
Does that
That's
mean
the
we
one.
can't do it, Steve? Does that mean we cannot do it?
We'd have to ask the state, I think.
We'd have to ask.
We'd have to go to the state to do that, which we,
If I'd like to add one more thing here, now that you say that, I talked to a couple EMTs in Hammond, and, you know, you may know this better, but they said the number one problem in the Bay on Church Street is not the cars, it's the pedestrians. It's the people that are kind of walking across the street, because you can't really see because there's a car usually parked right on the corner, at the corner. So you've got all this, and the pedestrians slow down traffic. So that is another issue. I don't know how you address that.
Yeah.
If you're gonna put a stop sign on Church.
that's good if we got a lot of people in town.
I know.
That's
yeah.
good.
Looking for a place to park.
So that's a plus.
Right.
Cheryl Navarra, again, real quickly, a few questions that I had was, if when we get together to have this conversation, if these numbers could be brought to it, how many parking spots are in a bay? How many would be removed if there was the potential of removal? How many parking spots were lost with the expansion of the hospital? How many ambulances, we're right on Church Street, we're looking out the window, giving you popcorn. How many ambulances come down Church Street on a given day, week, month? I think the conversation that also needs to keep being reminded is, we're really only talking about July and August when it comes to frustrations for the drivers. My father was a volunteer firefighter. I am pro all of that. Anyone in their right mind is. But we're talking about a 2-month period that is critical to the businesses.
It could get pretty full June, too. I can tell you, I was very surprised a couple of weeks ago, sitting on my front porch on Church Street, heard the siren coming from the intersection, from the lights, and watching a Oswego ambulance screaming past, lights and sirens headed downtown. Oswego. It's like, really?
Yeah. I couldn't believe it either.
It was like, Oswego, what,
Where the heck-
boy, they're out of their element, aren't they? So, I mean, you have, Alex Bay covers all of the town of Alexandria, then we've had Morristown, Hammond, I don't know if Hammond still has an ambulance, Indian River, Lake of Tears, Cape Vincent, Guilfoyle,
You see town of Watertown,
town of Watertown has gone by.
It's all because the bigger hospitals go on diversion for medical or for whatever reason. So medical control will divert them to River Hospital.
Right.
The Oswego ambulance could have been in an accident at Ellisburg, thinking they're gonna head towards Samaritan, only to be diverted to Alex Bay.
I understand all of the diversions.
Yep.
He was in an ambulance 3 weeks ago, went to the River Hospital, excellent care, transported to Ogdensburg, fabulous care. I understand all of that. I want to get cold, hard numbers of
Yep,
how
that'll
many.
be with the group when we can set that up.
Yeah.
My other thought is, has anyone measured the width of Market Street versus the width of Church Street? Market Street is considerably wider.
Market Street
There
is
seems
what?
to be an argument that you can't make a turn with an ambulance, and I find that absurd.
Well,
Because there is no ambulance route on the planet Earth that is straight from patient to hospital.
look at upstate,
Doesn't
crowd
exist.
serving,
That is
St.
absurd.
Joe's.
That's something we can,
We can talk about that another time.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
I can explain it to you in great detail,
Yep.
but it'd be better to show you. You know, let me strap you in the back of the ambulance and start doing CPR on you, and then start making them turns, and the EMT gets flung up against the side of the ambulance, and now they're injured. And they can't take care of you. That's why we don't wanna turn it anytime we don't have to turn.
Let me,
But let me.
Okay, let's,
we're gonna discuss this, okay, because we gotta get on other stuff here. I'll set a date in the next couple of weeks here, and we'll all get together. I'll check with the fire department, see when all the EMTs and the chiefs are available, and then I'll get ahold of the business people. I'll call one of you and get the word out, and then we'll have a little chit chat right here. Okay? That sound good? Okay. Next.
there you go. Anybody else? Okay, correspondence. We have a letter from the county planning. This pertains to the decommissioning plans of solar panels, solar developments. Really, it, at this moment, has nothing to do with the village, because we don't have solar panel farms in the village. But it's something that possibly further down that might need to be addressed. Okay. Minutes, July 12th, 2022, special meeting July 19th, 2022. Motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Motion by trustee DeRigo, second by trustee Fulmer to approve the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion to pay the bills, abstract number 2.
Make a motion to pay abstract number 2.
I'll second it.
Motion by trustee DeRigo, second by trustee Demo. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Trustee reports. Cindy?
Oh, okay, first bit. Our new playground, and there was an issue with some kids getting bug bites, so, when Jared comes back, I think he's gonna check that out. And a couple people went over and they saw some ants there, so whether the ants are biting or what's biting them, that's gonna be looked into.
Where's this at?
At the new playground.
Okay, well, I'll work with, because it still hasn't been signed off with the new construction, I'll talk with the town.
Yep. Gordon Court, their next meeting is September 20th, and they didn't have anything new to report this week. Hearts for Youth is going to take a pivot with the community center and look at some options to still have a new structure, but probably not a community center. Mac Sherry Library's meeting is tomorrow night, and I'll go to that. And the other item is tennis, where we put the new pickleball tape down, but the new pickleball tape is coming off already. So, because it's an indoor tape, it's not outdoor tape.
So, I'm gonna stick my neck out. The pickleball players that are absolutely screaming and calling me at 8:14 in the morning Saturday and coming to my house at 8:30 Sunday morning, maybe they need to do a fundraiser so that they can purchase the tape for their court. We did borrow tape from the town to put it down, and that's my suggestion. If these people want to put the tape down, they need to buy it.
Yeah, I talked to a couple of them today, and, you know, we eliminated putting the paint down because that would affect if that was ever sealed again. So that's what's probably gonna have to happen. They've gotta buy some tape, do a little fundraiser.
Trustee DeRigo.
Okay. The new bathrooms, or not, the refurbished bathrooms are done. I wanna thank, Brian Willits and, all the people that donated money to fix up the bathrooms downtown. At the docks they look beautiful. I was in there last week.
Rotary,
And like you said, Rotary.
Town of Alexandria.
Town of Alexandria, some Chamber of Commerce, and, some other people. I wanna thank them all for helping us out there. The dock's been, real busy. We're losing 2 dock attendants, Sunday, so we'll be down to 3, but we'll have to manage until the rest of the season. That's all I got.
Golf course is still in excellent shape, and the special Monday Wednesday nights has been going well from what the clubhouse attendants have told me, which is good to see.
We have our 3 lifeguards. We've worked out a schedule where I think we're just about open every day going forward. Water plant's fine, everything's flushing, flowing, pavilion is, clean and being used more, and, more of what I'm gonna talk about is later.
I'm gonna skip DPW report, please report, go to Lee and zoning.
The ZBA is gonna be meeting tomorrow night to finish up our public hearing down on Bethune on 29 and 31 Bethune for some variances that we needed approval by the trustees, which you did last month. The planning board's gonna be meeting the first Wednesday in September. We have a potential daycare center that's being proposed up on Northern. It will need to go to the county because it's within 500 foot of a state road, so they'll be looking at it before the village planning board looks at the project. That's all I had, unless there's some questions.
Anybody have questions for police? Police report, we don't have, Josh is out sick. DPW, they've been, busy every day between Tuesdays and Wednesdays with garbage and refuse. Just trying to maintain throughout the village. They've been doing a great job helping to set up events, take down. They've been keeping really busy. We're almost finished with the wall at Horizon. And then we'll get the parking lot at the dive park, and then we'll be starting the pickleball courts with the town in mid-September. Let's go to old business. Try to keep it waiting. Gregor, we'll do the ready. We got streetscape and New York Forward and downtown revitalization initiative. We got a lot to do.
Good evening. We'll start with a ready update. Since the last meeting, DC Builders has constructed a temporary road behind the pavilion. And this week, they started removing some rock that's needed to complete the wharf project. They may end up doing some blasting if the rock removal isn't successful. So if that's needed, we'll have a separate pre-blast meeting. And we'll include the village on that and go through all the requirements prior to them starting any blasting. If blasting is needed, it should be fairly minor. I think they've had some success removing it mechanically this week, so more to come on that. We should know by the end of the week if blasting will be needed. Since the last meeting, the electrical contract resubmitted the bonds, and Mr. Burrows reviewed that, and everything was satisfactory, and the contracts have been executed, and notice to proceed was issued to S&O Electric. A little more on the Ready project. Right now, the focus is going to be on the wharf, but once things get going, they'll probably move down towards the water treatment plant and start doing some work in there. But primarily right now, the wharf is the priority. And after that, after the water plant, they will likely be working on the docks and demo, but that's going to be after the season's over. Other things, we talked about, I don't know if you want to talk about it now, the New York State Forward program that was announced this year. It's a brand new program. On Friday, Cindy and Steve Hunt and
I was your driver, remember?
yeah, you were there and I was there, yep. We met to talk about this initiative that they have. It's similar to the DRI program, if anyone's familiar with that. That's been available for larger communities. It's been up to $10 million. The city of Watertown actually received funding for it. So the new program, the New York State Forward program, is focused on hamlets and smaller communities, such as the village of Alex Bay. And right now, this year, for the funding, there's $100 million available for the 10 regions for the New York Forward program. And the way it's split up, each area will get $10 million, which will be split. It could either be, and I don't know how they do the math on this, but it's 2 $4.5 million awards, or it could be 1 $4.5 million award and 2 $2.25 million awards. So there's been a lot of interest in this program. So on Friday, we met with Steve Hunt, he's with Empire State Development, discussed some potential projects in the village, and actually went on a driving tour of the village, looked at the downtown areas. Got a lot of good hints and thoughts from him. I think the next step is to get the letter of intent submitted, and that is due tomorrow. It's a fairly straightforward form. It's actually in a form. It doesn't have to be a letter. It's a form that needs to be completed with some general information. It's not required, but I would recommend the village complete it if you have any interest. And then the next step is the actual application. To dive into the application a little more, it really requires to have a strong application. You need to have input from the private business owners. That's a big part of the application. They want to know that there's interest from the business owners and private investment. So they want to see for every dollar that goes in, state dollar that goes in, they want to see private investment also going into the program. And that was a big part of what Steve Hunt revealed or shared with us on Friday. They don't want to see 4 village projects for this. They want to see some possible improvements to businesses, maybe market rate apartments, that would be one example, improvements to businesses, and they want the buy-in from the private businesses to be able to apply for this program.
If I can comment, Gregor was wonderful in setting this up for us, but when we did this on Friday, we met here, I think, for about an hour. Cindy and I, and as you said, Gregor and Steve Hunt, who was very informative, very helpful, and gave us lots of clues of things to do and how to make this proposal good. And, you know, we got in my car, and pulled over a little bit. I had warned the police that I'm going to be flashing my lights all over town. But we hear a lot, and I don't even want to say it. What I said in the car was, if you want to go to Clayton, it's that way. We don't want to hear about Clayton anymore. We are not Clayton. We are Alexandria Bay. Once we make this right, let's own it, live it, love it. Talk about us. And that's how we proceeded in a positive note, going down to church, hung a left, showed him the docs and said, you know, Reddy's going to do this, and Gregor helped talk about that. We would love to get rid of those bathrooms and move them somewhere else. Then we turned back around. You know, they bring up a lot of, every other word is community, neighborhood, village square, village center. You know, we'd love to have a village square. And then we went up to the hospital around and pavilion and showed streetscape and Reddy, and then went down around in the old chamber building. You know, maybe we could do this in part of this. You know, redo it, give us bathrooms again, give us a police substation, which was brownie points in Mr. Hunt's mind. And then we hung a left and went down the other end of town. And as we were going down all of the streets, it's like, look, that one looks like it has a storefront here, but it looks like there's nothing upstairs. If that owner is interested, and that's what we have to get out to the public now, and we'll have to have a public meeting before September 23rd when we send this application in, to get people involved. He said if that owner would like to turn their second or third floor into apartments or a commercial space, that's a project that we need to wrap into this funding. And he pointed out, I mean, I couldn't remember them all fast enough. And then down the other end of town, maybe we could put 2 or 4 unisex bathrooms somewhere at this end so that we had bathrooms there. And, you know, drove all over, and oh, by the way, if there's enough money in this, we would love to pave all of downtown, which is, you know, James, a bit of Church, Olive Market, and Olive Miller. You know, and he didn't say no to any of it. He's like, okay, but you gotta include some of this. It's really big on the public-private partnership. And then, we came back here, we talked about the, front of the building for the fire department, and we're gonna put that in there, and we talked about adding 2 rooms to the library. You know, that's not really downtown, but that's community, that's neighborhood, so that, and there's a lot. There's just so much that we want to put together. And when he left, before he left, he told us to apply for the 10 million. So I think we should apply for all of it. It can't hurt. And as he said, once you have all of that information together in an application, you don't get the 10, maybe you get the 4.5 or the 2.5, but you have your paperwork together to put for any other grant that comes out there, that comes in front of you, then you're ready. And I think it's worth our time and some budget dollars to make this happen, to put this, make it a wonderful package to sell Alexandria Bay and how we can make it better for the future. Right.
And we did point out Bay Artisans and how, what it was before, and now to give staff upstairs, town staff some Airbnbs, and there's also a studio in there for the guy that makes the lures, and he was like, yeah, that's what you need to do. If somebody else wants to do it, that's a good prototype to do it, so there's a lot of possibilities.
It was exciting.
It was exciting.
We have to now just make sure that we do it, you know, that we just don't sit on it. So I think we have to make a motion, Molly, to have Steve sign the letter of intent. So I'd like to make a motion to have the mayor sign the letters of intent, because they have to be filed tomorrow.
Second it.
For this project.
Motion by trustee Fulmer, second by trustee DeRigo, to have the mayor sign the letter of intent to proceed with the downtown revitalization and then New York forward, correct?
Yes, just a letter of intent at this point, then we have to deal with the rest of it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Good.
I have one other thing regarding the Ready project. Just some colors for the lift, some considerations. I don't need a decision tonight, but it's just items that we'll need for the submittal process. So for the lift, so everyone can see, here, but this is a standard color. This is actually the standard color that the lift comes in. But there are some other color options on the top of this color chart that can be considered.
I'm into standard.
Standard, yeah. And the other option is the lift has either a plexiglass outer shell, or you can have a tempered glass outer shell.
Which is safer.
The colors cost any more than
The colors, the standard colors are all the same. Yeah. My thoughts on the glass, they also have options for having it tinted. I think you want it as visible as possible.
Yeah.
Just so you can see who's in there and make sure that it's being used as a lift and not something else.
That is a play toy.
Yeah.
Which could happen.
Yes.
And I think the tempered glass would be the better option than the plexiglass also.
Yes.
Okay.
And like I said, without the tint.
Yep.
I'm good with that.
So on the colors, it's, like I said, it doesn't have to be a decision tonight, but that's the standard color. And there are a few options if you decide.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we could.
We don't
Unless
need-
you want to just,
It's either that or we have to get together again for a special meeting. So,
another special meeting.
I don't care. I'm good with
Standard?
the standard, and was that everybody else's opinion too? And I'm good with the glass, whatever you said.
Let me see those colors, real quick.
What do you think?
Could you grab that?
Yep.
I'm okay with
Top row.
the standard,
Yeah.
and then,
Now, see, glass, we might not be able to see it in the night.
No.
I'm okay with any of those colors, but the, definitely should go with the tempered glass.
Tempered glass. I'd just stick with the standard or the color.
Or the dark gray, would look nice.
What's that?
The dark gray would look nice, like, it looks more like a.
The second one, dark gray.
So,
So what color is it up against?
it'd be, it's gonna be like that, it's gonna be,
Well, you'll have a stone cement
Stone,
background,
right?
right? Gregor?
Yeah, it'll be against the stone wall.
Cool.
Dark gray or standard?
I'm okay with dark gray.
Dark gray, dark gray, dark
Yeah.
gray,
Dark gray.
dark gray.
It just gives a little
Yeah,
pizzazz,
a little
to
color
it.
to it.
A little pizzazz instead of being so dull.
Yeah, so is there a number on that?
I know.
Yeah, that dark gray one there.
The one
that's
actually dark gray.
Yeah.
There.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Just gives it a little pizzazz.
The streetscape, we had, board meeting today, playground pretty much is done. The Thompson playground sign has got to be installed. We'll have them go over about the issue with the bugs or whatever right there. The sidewalks at the park have all been redone. The Holland Street boat launch, the dock has been delivered. We just got the dock weights yesterday. Everything will be installed next week. There is maybe an issue where the cement ramp hits the river bottom, a hump or something, that's gonna be checked out next week. And then possibly the week of, after Labor Day, that should be completed and switch over, open that up and then switch over to the Crossman Street dock by Otter Creek Inn. And the third week of September, the new docks for that should be delivered. So that's moving along very well too. With the Ready Commission, Supervisor Sweet and I have met with, a lady from Albany on ribbon cutting, and we're in the initial stages of setting up a ceremony downtown at the pavilion. Anything else, Gregor?
No, the only other thing was the WIA program was announced again, the Water Infrastructure Improvement Act, and we're preparing the wastewater project for that submission on September 9th. That's the same program that the village received funding for the water last year.
Good.
Steve, did you mention that the groundbreaking has not been scheduled, or?
There's not a certain date.
Okay.
Okay, one thing that we're gonna be looking for is, posters to present to the public of, what we're doing. If we have pictures that maybe we can get from T.I. Sun or whoever has of the flooding from 17 and 2019, the docks around the village. That's very highly suggested to have on hand also.
Okay.
And diagrams of what we're doing at the wharf, the water plant, the upper dock, lower dock, just so that the public knows what it is.
Some displays for the groundbreaking.
Yes.
picture.
And as soon as we get information, we will coordinate everybody. We want to do it.
Sounds good, and that's gonna be a joint groundbreaking then?
This will be joint village town, because the town only has the Goose Bay project.
Sounds good.
This time I don't know if it's the governor, lieutenant governor, Department of State, but a high rep from Albany will be here. So we'll move forward on that. Anything else on that? All set, Fred?
Also,
Thank you, sir. Number 2, hospital parking, 10 spots. Pardon me? Season's almost over. We haven't heard from them, so we'll move on that, we'll table it. Number 3, Cage Golf special dates. So we're moving them from Wednesdays and Fridays to avoid conflict. What days are we doing?
It's, supposedly the conflict is Monday nights, because the men's league here, of course, has to make up a couple nights. They've made up 2 already with no conflict whatsoever, so I say keep them. The groups that have come in for the special have come in early to do it, plus the league is down some teams.
There was a couple that played last night in the middle league, it wasn't about it.
So we're all set with it. Okay, anything else under old business? Okay, new business, sign law. So it's at the pleasure of the board to adopt the new sign codes that have been hashed over multiple times. And we had our last revision yesterday. Thank you for the last minute rush to correct everything and all the grammatical errors and things.
It's not perfect, but it's getting better.
It gets us moving.
So I think if the step is whether we vote yes or no or to table it, if we do vote and vote yes, then we would have to do the resolution to adopt it, correct?
Yes.
And then the next step would be to make a motion to end the moratorium at a,
Well, yeah, there's a few things. So you've got your most recent version of your sign law. You've got your 239 input from the county, so that means you can move forward. New York State does require you to take the environmental review, the look, but when you're looking at a sign law, actually it's not technically an action under secret pursuant to 617.2 sub B, which means you don't have to take an environmental review for the sign law, which means you're actually free to proceed. So if you proceed, you entertain a motion and a second on, I'll call it the most recent version of the sign law that we've received from the county, and you'd vote on it. And if you approve that, then you'd have your new law would become effective. I'd work with Molly as we filed with New York State Department of State. We can get it sent out there, but it usually takes them about a week to 2 weeks before it technically becomes effective. But you're correct. The amendment to your sign moratorium, that was a 4-month extension, but your local law, it explicitly indicates that you can terminate it by simple resolution. So you're correct that if you decided to adopt the sign law, you could entertain a resolution tonight to end it. But if you ended it today, I mean, technically you're going to have a week or 2 gap before your new sign law comes into play.
And if we vote on accepting yes on this new sign law, part of that is also in there taking away from the village board any decisions on signage.
Yeah,
Yes?
a couple of things. And you're going to find that that's covered with it. I looked briefly because that question came up a couple of days ago. Yeah, and you're going to find that explicitly signs that require review at sub B at page 8. It notes that signs that require a permit shall be reviewed by the planning board. There's also another section at page 17, the permit process, and that makes it very clear that it's administered and enforced with your zoning officer and the planning board, and you'll see it scattered throughout the law as well. So it absolutely does that. Now, what I did, just in an abundance of caution so there wouldn't be any confusion, your resolution to adopt your sign law, it makes it clear as well that that's one of the key components of your sign law. So if you adopt it, it's administered and enforced with Lee and your planning board. Now, understand, that your sign law, there's nothing sacred about it, so if you adopt it and all of a sudden a month from now, you say, you know what? We should have done X, Y, and Z, there's a process for amending it, so the village board is still involved with signs, it's just legislatively, you're not dealing with the nuts and bolts of it any longer.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the new sign law.
I'll second it.
Motion by trustee Palmer, second by trustee Stroud to adopt the new sign law.
Is that a roll call vote?
That will be a roll call.
Trustee Stroud?
Yes.
Trustee Fulmer?
Yes.
Trustee Dorigo?
Yes.
Trustee Demo?
Yes.
Mayor Jarvis?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll work with Molly, and we'll take a step to get that file to become effective, and I'll notify when it becomes effective, but round numbers, say 2 weeks is what it takes before the state will have it on record.
So now we need another resolution to,
If the village board's inclination is to terminate the sign moratorium, you know, I haven't prepared paperwork for that, but what it would be is you'd entertain a motion to terminate the sign moratorium effective, you can pick a date.
Can they say when the local law
Yeah, you could.
is established?
Yeah.
That way, well, when we have the
You can have
information.
to be coterminous with the effective date of your local law. So theoretically, if you wanted, you could say, a motion could be made by so-and-so to terminate the existing sign moratorium, termination to be coterminous with the effective date of your new sign law.
I'll make that motion. Did you get
I
that? Molly
couldn't
was writing
repeat
it
it,
down.
so.
Molly's writing it down.
I'll second it.
Motion by trustee Fulmer, second by trustee Demo. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Fulmer?
Yes.
Trustee Stroud?
Yes.
Trustee Dorigo?
Yes.
Trustee Demo?
Yes.
Mayor Jarvis?
Yes.
You got all that, right?
Sure.
So it takes.
Good, we've moved on. We'll set the signs.
Okay.
Number 2, Wagner's. Don't have anybody here. Number 3, Alexandria Bay Fire Department funding. As we know, the fire department is looking to put an addition on the front of the fire hall to house the 1922 Aaron spots. And then in the back corner of the building, why, I guess it was short of money, they put a wall where there probably should have been a door, overhead door. So we have an architect who has donated his time, correct? And come up with the plans for it. The fire department looked at doing it themselves, but because the village owns the property, it's up to the village board. So we have been looking through Municipal Solutions to see about the village funding it. And it's approximately $230,000. I guess it was suggested we probably look at $250 to $300 just because of lovely inflation that's happened with COVID. Another situation is, was mentioned that the fire department would make the payments, but that is not that it is part of the solution, or what the correct legal term is. It has to be, the village is doing it, the village would make the payments, but
The fire department would donate that payment.
the fire department can donate, correct? So, I guess we're looking at moving forward to
Consider.
a decision to fund the improvements for the fire hall for those 2 projects.
I need to ask Gregor, if the applications for the DRI and New York Forward have to be in by September 23rd, do you know what the decision date is?
I do not, they haven't made that announcement yet, so it would be a guess if I threw out a date.
You suggesting part some of that could be funded by that.
Well, we would put it all in there.
All right.
I mean, we ran it past them, I don't know if they're gonna consider it enough of, downtown community, neighborhood, but let's just say we got some of it and it included it, how would we do that with, we just wouldn't,
Well, and honestly,
It's something
is
we'd
this
have to-
something the fire department has to have done immediately? Walt, what's your
Well,
timeline on this?
Here's our problem. As you know, Redwood dropped their ambulance, so right now the Bay Fire Department's taking care of the whole town of Alexandria, as well as mutual aid calls to Clayton and Hammond and all over the place. So it requires 2 ambulances, okay? In the wintertime, if we don't have a place to put the Fox, we may have to take that second ambulance out of service for the winter to keep the Fox inside. If we can't always find a place to store the Fox that's heated, it's 1922. We don't like to leave it out in the cold, but we had to last year, we had no choice. But we'd like to get it inside to where it can be showcased. It's part of the history of the Bay Fire Department and this village. So, the decision that faces the fire department is, if this keeps going on in 2 or 3 or 4 years, we may have to drop that other ambulance and just go with one to the thing and probably have to turn down some calls. So, yes, we'd like to get it inside as soon as possible.
I really think that this should proceed as soon as we can.
instead of
It's,
a wing and a prayer, hoping that we get a grant, I guess.
yes, you're shooting for a grant, but yet
You don't wanna hold it up.
we don't wanna hold it up. I totally agree
We'd like to
that
put it out to bid as soon as
this
possible.
needs to be done as soon as we can, yes. That's my view.
I agree. So what do we have to do now, if we all agree?
So we need a motion to,
Bond?
No, you need a motion to proceed to see what our actual financial obligation would be. What the fire department, they need exact numbers. They can't say you can do this or that, because if the fire department say, I'm just saying, I had a discussion today, if you give the village $15,000 a year, right? It's gonna take 17 years to pay that off. Do we want a bond for that much and have the tax, take 17 years to pay that off? Or do you wanna give them that and it comes out of the village's fund balance for now? I mean, so there's some major decisions that we need to talk to the financial before we go, and commit. But the fire department, they said, we need to sit down exactly with the fire department. They need to tell the village what they're gonna give and before it goes out to the public, because remember, your public, the
Yep.
taxpayers are the ones who are accepting this burden. So we need to sit down ASAP with the fire department, get a commitment. They said it should be a commitment letter from them stating what they will give to, and then proceed to see what financing we can get.
How are you gonna know what number to give until you know what the funding or financial is?
Well, you haven't, how much? Do you guys know how much? Like, if you're saying $230,000 and you're gonna give us $15,000 a year, I give that to them, they plug those numbers in, they tell us exactly what, you know what I mean, the payment will be to every year. So that's what we need, is just numbers.
The bond payment is 17, we agree to give you 15. I mean, I would rather we know what the bond payment is and what have you. We can commit to giving you whatever you need to cover it, so the village isn't technically out anything.
I think that's what she's saying. We're gonna make a motion to, I'll make a motion to proceed with finding out the financial information that we need to know to proceed with the financing, the bonding, and then that's my motion. Separate from that, before you each commit to each other, you'll know what you have to give her.
Right, but I mean, till it goes out to bid, how are we going to know what the project's gonna cost, right? I mean.
Yeah, so is that what you're trying to get at?
That's what I'm trying to get at, is what happens if the bid, if we say this is the specs and the bid comes out to be $220,000 and, we only need to give you $12,000 a year. Whatever we need to give you, we'll give you.
What you're normally gonna see with projects like that is you get the input from your engineer. You find out, it's like with capital projects, it's a map plan, a report, you come up with an idea of what the number's gonna be. And with that, you'll have the maximum amount that it would cost, the best estimate. In inflationary times, do the best you can. That's the number. Then backing into that, you know, if you're using municipal solutions, they're gonna look at the local finance law, and it's gonna say, for that type of a project, local finance law says that the useful life is blank. And then what happens is you've got a number that you work with, and you know that the longest you could use to finance it is gonna be a certain number of years, because that useful life's plugged into local finance law. You then look to adopt your bond resolution. And with your bond resolution, that process, you deal with it a lot. 4 votes out of 5. You've got the resolution, it's gonna have the maximum amount that could be expended. You adopt it, you've got to publish it within 10 days, and you have a 30-day window where you do nothing.
But
After that, then you publish your stop notice. Now then what happens is you've got the framework in place. I'm not saying you borrow that money, but you've got the framework in place that then opens the door to say, okay, this is what we know it's gonna cost, this is what the financing would be. That usually opens the door to try to find some grant money for it, but that's a process you follow.
But before we can proceed then with any kind of motion to do anything financially, he has to get more of a dollar
Yeah.
number.
Yeah, you can't, you couldn't adopt the bond resolution tonight because, well, I mean, no one's prepared.
No, we don't wanna do the bond
But-
resolution, but
No, but we need to move forward to start the process.
right,
So, because
To allow them to get an engineer.
we already have an estimate.
Well, I mean, if you've got an architect, I mean, the architect's qualified to give you the basic information so that you can begin that, but you've got to have some numbers to work with. And with that, if you're using municipal solutions, you then look at the local finance law and say, okay, with this type of project, with that cost, what's the useful
But
life?
he is certified architect, and I believe his numbers were,
4 years ago,
yeah.
3 years ago. I mean, that was COVID time, I mean, you know, he bid it high, we have no idea what it would cost.
okay, so we're not making any commitment tonight. I'll make a motion that we move forward with the financial checking
Investigation.
into this. So,
Moving forward with the
moving
process.
forward with the process. I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by trustee Boomer, second by trustee Strauss to move forward with the,
Engineer
Finance.
report, right?
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yes.
Okay, so now with that, you need to get updated prices, right, Molly? That's his,
Yeah,
Right, we'll
Yep.
sit down with the architect
Do it,
and
yeah,
the
okay.
building
Engineer,
committee
yeah.
sometime next week and get that fired up.
okay.
So we can make that happen, I hope.
Can I go home and have dinner now?
Yep,
no.
Can I do the same?
unless you share.
You can come.
Yep, you can serve
Appreciate
it.
it.
Thanks, Amy.
Sure.
Number 4, hire Nola Foss as part-time clerk, 14 per hour with the office.
I'll make that motion to hire Nolan, $14 an hour.
I'll second.
Motion by trustee Fulmer, second by trustee Strud to hire Nola, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carries. Town of Water, no, not Town of Watertown, Town of Alexandria Water.
Okay, everybody got the sheet? Anybody have any questions? Molly, was that on the table?
Yes, there's all kinds of copies on the table.
Actually, they should be happy with this.
Should be happy with them. Anybody have any questions? Mr. Thompson, any questions on the water rate sheet?
Very easy to understand. Each water district has its different IMA, which accounts for the why there's a different rate for each one, which is what I would expect.
But
And,
the good news is that 5 of them are going down.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Russ.
I'll be right back.
Yep.
The water rates are actually going down compared to 2022, except for Orleans, which is going up.
I noticed there were some budget adjustments up on the top half there,
Mm-hmm.
which brought down the, as I said, for town calculation, 30,000 under treatment and 4,500 under distribution. Obviously, that's all positive for the town. and I'm just curious as to what they were.
I'm not exactly sure what the 30,000
Well,
is.
since they are negative numbers as far as the town goes, I'll stop asking.
I will ask Thomas from Dank tomorrow and get you an answer.
Okay.
So,
But if you have any other questions, we can send you, again, as we've done before, the Excel spreadsheet.
No, my understanding all along was village engineer, town engineer sit down, IMAs are black and white, and if the two town engineers agree with, the way the budgets are set up, to me, that should be the end of it right there.
It's the end of it. Yes,
Right.
it's all
Thank you.
set in stone.
Yeah.
Okay? I would like to make a motion to approve the water rates for the town of Alexandria.
I'll second.
motion by trustee Fuller, second by trustee Stroud, to approve town of Alexandria water rates.
January 1st.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Just want to make it clear, I'm just here as a resident, not as I wasn't sent here by the town board. I just want to make that clear.
We got
We
it.
don't make the other statement either.
Yeah.
This will take effect January 1st.
January 1st?
Yes.
1/1/23. Oh my gosh. Okay, number 6. Budman Tournament.
I have done my job today.
From Ed Bud Mokai, requesting permission to again hold a yearly Budman two-club golf tournament at the Village Golf Course, September 25th, 2022, to benefit Alexandria Central Backpack Program and other local charities. I may be bringing in 10 golf courts. Bud Mokai.
I'll make a motion, we give permission to use the golf course for the tournament.
I'll second it.
Motion by trustee Strauss, second by trustee DeRigo, to approve it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 7, Municipal Solutions, authorize the same contract renewal. Their contract is up. Oh, what's the date on this one?
September.
September.
Is the fee about the same? Yes. I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the contract renewal for Municipal Solutions.
I'll second it.
Motion by trustee Palmer, second by trustee Stroud, to authorize to sign a new contract with Municipal Solutions. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's good. Municipal disclosure filing, authorized to sign.
That is part of the bonding that we're doing. We have to have a municipal disclosure of, finances.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion by trustee DeRigo, second by trustee Fulmer. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 9, Foundation for Betterment. For the village board to may concern the Foundation for Community Betterment is planning to host the 22nd annual Community Betterment Weekend, including annual paddle for betterment, annual golf tournament, and annual tennis tournament next year in Alexandria Bay, July 21st, 22nd, 2023. Asking permission to host the Betterment golf and tennis tournaments at the golf course tennis courts Friday 21st from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Asking to use the Village Park Beach Pavilion for paddle for betterment Saturday, July 22nd, 8 a.m. till noon. As you know, this year's paddle and golf and tennis tournaments were a tremendous success. Proceeds from this year's events were given to local organizations, local families in need, and to support the Ronald J. McLennan Immediate Need Fund used to support people and organizations throughout the year. Proceeds from next year's tournaments and paddle will again go to support worthy cause in the area yet to be determined by the host committee. Thank you for your support in the past. Look forward to another successful event next summer. Best, Trevor Garlock.
I just wanna add that I meet with them, and they are preparing a packet. So they're not telling me on Monday before the paddle what they need. So they're gonna put a packet together. The golf chair, the kayak chair, and the tennis chair are each responsible for what they need.
Somebody needs to remind me to have a lifeguard there or DPW early to get the grass
Yep,
back.
and that's what one was on the list.
Oh, come on, I mean, we have lifeguards at 10:30, but they started at what, 8?
Yeah.
7:30.
7:30.
Yeah, they're down there early. Speaking of that, they did ask a question, and I'm just gonna put this before the board, and I don't know any legalities about it. But they wanted to know, the village charges them each year $13 to golf. We had 69 or 71. They wanted to know if they would waive the fee and let them have it for free. So all proceeds would go to the worthy cause. My comment for that was, as part of the village at the time, and under my understanding would that be setting a precedent? So if the Budman tournament, or Pay It, or any other outfit wanted to use that, they could also come to the village board, would that be setting a precedent?
Yeah, the difficulty here was Article 8, Section 1 of the New York State Constitution, use of public money for private purpose. However legitimate the private purpose is, you run afoul of it. The only way really to get around it is with a public benefit services agreement with an entity. So you really can't do it. And you're right, if you start doing it to one, you might be inclined to do it to another, but that's why the state constitution prohibits that.
But I did
And in
speak
the
with
same sense, the same person, I believe, why are we paying $13 a person and the fire department gets it free?
The fire department pays for their cards,
Yes,
same
we
as
do.
everyone else,
Like everybody else.
and I told them that, so.
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
So
so
the
the
$13 is that, what I was told today was that basically pays for the gas for the cart to run the cart all day. That's what okay.
Yep.
That answered that easily.
All right, I'll make a motion to allow Foundation for Community Betterment to hold their event on July 21st and 22nd of 2023.
No second.
Motion made by trustee Fulmer, second by trustee DeRigo to approve betterment. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 10, hire Craig Bentley as of August 2nd as documented.
I'll make a motion to hire Craig Bentley, August 2nd,
I'll second it.
back attendant.
Motion by trustee DeRigo, second by trustee Demo to hire Craig Bentley. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh, I need to make a comment. I had friends and family here from Friday until today, and everybody was downtown, and they walked the dock a lot, and commented on how clean everybody was in the bathroom, how clean the bathrooms and the docks were. Dock attendants were very helpful and pleasant.
Thank you.
Amen.
Yeah.
And everybody likes the orange that everybody's in, so we need to, there was a summer worker that didn't have orange on the other day, didn't know he was a big.
Public concerns.
I have a counter.
Yes, sir. Your name? No.
I would just like to express my appreciation to the board for validating the work that, the time that we put into this sign law. I thank you very much.
Well, we want to thank you and your committee for the ungodly hours that you put in, not only here, but I can't even begin to imagine at home when should have been with, but yes.
We won't go there.
Yes, we won't, but yes, thank you so much.
Okay, well, it's a two-way street.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate it both sides. Thank you.
Ross.
Yes.
My grandson.
Nice job.
He still has to go home with me.
Oh, my goodness.
I gotta get this head in the car.
At least
Anything
you wore better clothes today. That
I
was
did,
funny
yeah.
yesterday. You stay way down as far as way possible.
Anybody else?
It's like pig pen with the.
You got anything?
No.
You better not.
Nope.
Executive session?
No. I don't have anything for executive. No, no,
Okay.
no. Motion to adjourn,
I make a motion we adjourn.
I'll second it.
7:19. Wow. Motion by trustee DeRigo, Strauss, all in favor?
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Gregor,
Wow.
here.
Yes,
I have names for your list,
do you? Perfect.
but I have to get you the other info.
Okay.
Who has to sign the letter of intent? You have to send
It would make sense for the mayor.